哥林多前書第10章第10節，他們所遭遇嘅這些事，都是要作為鑑戒，並且寫在經上，正是警戒我們這末世的人。所以自己以為站立得穩的，需要謹慎，免得跌倒。你們所遇見的試探，無非是人所能受的。神是信實的，必不叫你們受試探過於所能受的。在受試探的時候，總要給你們開一條出路，叫你們能夠忍受得住。
1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 11. These things happened to them as examples, and were written down as warnings for us, on whom the accumulation of the ages has come. So, if you think you are standing firm, be careful that you don't fall. No temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind, and God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, He will also provide a way out so that you can endure it.
我想睇叫 Linda 睇一睇咧，我企個嗰個鏡頭咧，嗰度係唔係嗰個合適嘅位置？因為頭先 Danny 高佬啦，我矮啲啦，同埋佢企嘅位置同我唔知係咪一樣。
We want to just adjust the camera to make sure that it's on me, because Danny is a little bit taller than I am, so.
Okay. 我最近講到關於勝過神給我哋人生嘅裏邊嘅考驗。
Recently, I talked about how do we overcome the test of life that God has given us.
呢經文其實第4節至第10節係講俾我哋知道咧，神嘅試驗咧，往往係從一啲微不足道嘅事情開始。
And previous to the verses previous to the scripture we read from verse 4 to verse 10, it mentioned to us that God tests us in the small things in life.
第6節至第6節開始講到咧，佢哋所有嘅試探係乜嘢咧？係貪婪啦、拜偶像啦、奸淫啦，仲有試探神同埋發怨言。
And in verse 6 to verse 10, it mentioned that their tests were testing about their greediness, about their idol worshiping, about their sexual immorality, and also how they test God, and also complaining.
講一講少少嘢先啦，俾在座啲人聽。因為我而家戴呢個眼鏡咧，係只係睇呢個銀幕嘅啫。我睇你哋咧，睇到完全係唔清楚嘅，所以有咁嘅緣故咧，我唔知望邊個好啊，所以我好少望你哋啫。原因咧，我係唔清楚睇到你哋嘅。
Because I'm wearing my computer glasses, so I could only see my screen. I'm not able. I can't see anything else. So if I'm not looking at you, so please bear with me.
我哋今日明白到一樣嘢，就係在我哋當中好多人咧，其實喺困難當中長大，對勝過呢啲咁普通嘅嘢嘅考驗係易如反掌。
And I want to talk about the people who are raised in adversity, and for all these small things, it's very easy for them to overcome.
我父母嘅一代，佢哋喺戰亂裏邊生長，佢哋係喺饑荒裏邊亦都長大嘅，所以咧勝過呢咁嘅問題其實唔係咁困難。
And for my father's generation, they were being raised during the war and during the famine, so it's not difficult for them to overcome these tests.
我哋當中亦都有啲喺越南裏邊逃避呢個共產黨嘅船民，或者啲柬埔寨逃避呢個赤柬嘅大屠殺嘅人，佢哋對呢咁嘅事應當係好容易嚟勝過。
And also for those who from the boat people from Vietnam, as well those who escaping the genocide in Cambodia, they are also easy for them to overcome these tests. 缺水缺糧，其實係區一件小事嚟，因為佢哋所遭遇更加大嘅困難，所以佢哋唔會埋怨神，佢哋會勝過呢啲咁嘅嘢。 And having no food or no water is a small issue compared with what they have experienced.
甚至乎連我本人啊，我相信咧勝過呢啲都唔係好困難。
Even for myself, it's not hard for me to overcome these tests.
因為我細蚊仔嘅時候，亦都捱過肚餓。
Because at the young age, I faced being hungry.
我中一嘅時間咧，返學咧有2次，因為咧係飢餓嘅緣故咧，係暈倒過嚟。
And when I went to school, there's 2 times that because I was too hungry that I fainted.
所以學校咧就咧救濟我啦，每一日咧就收尾咧就叫我去呢個辦公室裏邊咧食2塊餅乾，佢俾我嘅免費嘅，同埋飲一杯奶。
And for that reason, starting from that time, the school provide a relief for me. They give me biscuits and also a glass of milk.
同我一齊響香港長大啲班人，你都經歷過啦。起碼我最低限度有2次嘅4日制水荒。
And for those who grew up in Hong Kong with me, they also experienced this maybe at least twice, that there's a water shortage and they have to regulate the water, and we only get water once every 4 days.
我8、9歲嘅時候已經係每一日咧要去擔水輪水嘅，攞幾隻桶出去咧就去公眾水喉裏邊攞水。
And since when I was at the age of 8 or 9, every day I had to go out and get water from the public water tank.
冇嘢食對我都冇大問題嘅喎。
Not having food is not a great problem.
雖然我咁大食，
even though that I eat a lot, I have great appetite.
有咁嘅操練，因為咧經常咧間中咧我咧會咧係禁食咧，大約係3日嘅時間咧係有幾次咧係咁樣做。
And I do have some sort of discipline that I practice fasting for 3 days multiple times.
我相信，假如我哋學習到呢個禁食嘅功課嘅時候咧，冇嘢食咧，對我哋嚟講咧，唔係一個大問題，因為我哋會操縱我哋嘅食慾嗰個問題。
And we practice fasting. I believe not having food it will not be a great problem for us because we can control our hunger.
所以在當中，我相信有啲人咧話勝過呢啲以色列人所經歷嘅試探啊，以前幾個禮拜所講嘅，唔係真係咁大個困難。
And maybe for some of you that to overcome all the tests that the Israelites experienced in the wilderness, maybe not such a great task. 冇錯，如果一個得勝嘅人生係需要勝過人生裏邊厄運。 It's true to have a victorious life, to be a victor. You need to overcome adversity.
但係假如你以為我勝過人生厄運嘅時候，我就係一個得勝者嘅話，
If you think that you overcome these adversity and you are a victor,
係我已經係成功咗啦，我已經係達到嘅目的啦。
That we are successful and we are at our destination.
我希望大家唔好睇錯，因為勝過人生嘅考驗唔係真係咁簡單，唔係真係容易到咁嘅地步。
But I hope that you're not mistaken, that it's not that easy to overcome this adversities in life.
我今日希望你知道聖經裏面所講嘅，假如你以為自己站立得穩嘅話，你就更加要小心。你以為自己咧唔會因為咁嘅事跌倒嘅話。
And the Bible has mentioned that we read earlier, if you thought that you are standing firm, be careful that you do not fall.
所以今日題目就叫做當你勝利之後。
So here our theme today is that after your victory.
當你勝利之後，你係咪就係一個得勝者咧？
After your victory, are you truly a victor?
係咪一個打不倒嘅人、成功嘅人咧？
Are you invincible? Are you successful?
係咪神嗰個考驗啊？當你贏咗一次之後，就係終身享用咧？
Is that this victory that is a one-shot deal that after that you are already successful?
我哋祈禱先啦，父神，我哋感謝你俾我哋咁嘅機會嚟學習你嘅話語。
Oh, let's pray. Father, Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to learn about your word.
幫助我哋知道點嚟去謙卑同你同行。
And to help us to know that we need to walk with you humbly.
父啊，俾我哋冇任何一個自滿自足嘅感覺。
That will not be self-satisfied, self-contained.
將我哋嘅自信心嚟到去放得合乎中道。
And may our faith is moderate.
我哋知道我哋呢個仇敵魔鬼係咆哮嘅獅子，係好多時趁我哋冇防備嘅時候就嚟攻擊我
We
哋。
know that our enemy is a roaring lion, that he attacked us when we are unexpected.
有陣時候我哋估唔到嗰個試探嗰個環境當中，令到我哋跌倒過嚟。
And to cause us to fall in a situation where we neglect.
父啊，今日我哋當中有任何人經歷呢個試煉、試探、經歷過危機嘅時候，懇求主你幫助佢哋每一個。
And if any one of us are going through a test, going through a trial or temptation, Lord, may you help them.
俾我哋知道，我哋所經歷嘅，無非係人所能夠忍受嘅。你會喺試探、試煉當中，俾我哋能夠興起嚟。
And to know that whatever temptation that we're experiencing is things that we can bear, and then you will raise us up in that situation. We thank you and praise you, and in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
我繼續講下，原來厄運嘅考驗只不過係考驗嘅開始。
And actually, the test of adversity really is the beginning of our test
神
in
俾我
life.
哋嘅考驗咧，係一個一個係一層又一層咁樣接踵而嚟。
And the test that God will give us come one after another and one level after another level.
一個 level 一個層面比下一個層面比上一個層面係更加難。
And the next level will be more difficult than the present level.
一次勝利同埋合格唔係等於永遠啲勝利合格。
And you have passed or have victory once doesn't mean you will always be successful and have
既然
victory.
滿地可以而家喺呢一個冰地曲棍球嗰個咁嘅熱潮嘅當中，我就用一啲咁嘅比喻。
And I could draw a illustration from the ice hockey playoffs.
最近我哋睇見呢史丹利杯嘅決賽，我哋會知道，
When you look at the Stanley Cup playoffs, we know
多倫多球隊得到個慘痛嘅經歷。
the team, they suffer a very painful experience.
佢贏咗3場，
They won 3 games.
領先咗係爭咗一場啫。點解知最衰尾一場係敗響滿地可嘅手下？
They needed one more win, and yet they lost at the hand of Montreal.
有啲好多年啦，已經係好多年啦。加拿大好多不同嘅曲棍球嘅球迷咧，係嘲笑多倫隊嘅球隊，話佢哋咧只係贏咗一場嘅時候咧，佢就會安排史丹利杯呢個凱旋大遊行。
And a lot of hockey fans were sarcastically saying that after Toronto win one game, they thought they won this. They're already planning the Stanley Cup parade.
贏咗一場就以為自己已經上咗岸，成為冠軍。
And after they won one game, they thought they have became the champion.
原來我哋佢哋仲需要15場係需要贏先係攞到冠軍嘅。
Yet they need to win 15 more games before they become the champion.
如果以為自己係一個打不到嘅成功者嘅時候，係大錯特錯啦。
If you think you're invincible and you're a victor, then you're gravely mistaken.
同樣道理就係，假如你能夠戰勝冇水冇糧食嘅話，你就以為自己贏晒所有嘅試驗嘅時候，我諗呢個係一個錯誤嘅觀念。
And it is the same way that if you thought you overcome no food, no hunger, that you have overcome all the tests in life, then you're mistaken as well.
因為下一個嘅考驗係更加難嘅，我哋嘅難度更加高嘅。
And because the next test will be even more difficult.
我哋從呢個溫尼碧市同埋呢個拉斯維加斯兩個球隊就學到呢個同樣嘅功課，亦都可以應用喺屬靈嘅當中。
That we can learn the same lesson from the teams and from Las Vegas and also Winnipeg. That is also the same for a lesson that we need to learn spiritually.
呢個溫尼碧市咧係打贏咗呢個熱門嘅球隊愛明頓裏邊4場打贏咗好巴閉，好厲害。
And Winnipeg have sweep the highly favored Edmonton team.
拉斯維加斯打敗咗第1號呢一個最多分嗰個聯賽最高分嗰個呢一個球隊。
And Las Vegas, they have beaten the team that had the most points during the season.
所以兩隊都係一個好好嘅成績。
And they have give a good report.
佢哋連咁好咁叻嘅球隊都打得贏。
They have defeated a very good team.
下一個對手輕而易舉啦，穩操勝券啦，只不過寂寂無名嘅口榜末嘅滿地可。
The next opponent, or it should be a sure win, is just the last team that get into the playoffs.
不費吹灰之力就打贏佢啦。
There's no trouble at all.
點不知就喺呢個陰溝裏邊翻船，係俾滿地可咧敗咗滿地可慘敗喺佢哋手下。
And unexpectedly, they were defeated by Montreal.
因為一次勝利嘅緣故，佢哋呢個勝利被勝利衝翻咗佢哋頭腦，睇唔起對面嗰個卑微嘅球隊在眼內。
And because they have a victory and they let the winning this victory go to their head, and they did not take their opponent seriously.
弟兄姊妹啊，我哋唔能夠犯同樣嘅毛病啊！
Brothers and sisters, we cannot commit the same mistake.
千祈唔好以為贏咗一次就以後都係贏緊噶啦。
Do not think that we are victorious now, that we will continue to be victorious.
唔好以為哇呢個咁厲害嘅敵人我哋贏得到啦，咁以後我就係所向無敵。
And think that since I can overcome such a formidable opponent, that no one can stand against us now.
你喺呢個長遠嘅 嗰個計劃嚟講，呢個決賽嚟講，只係贏咗第一個回合咋。
But in this playoffs series, that you only have won the first series.
喺聖經裏邊經常講到咧，以色列人有10種嘅試探，10個試探試煉咁多考驗佢哋。
In the Bible, we can see the Israelites, they have gone through 10 tests.
我相信喺我哋每一個人嘅生當中，都有類似嘅10種嘅試煉咁多嘅。
And I believe in our own life that we will experience these 10 tests as well.
從呢個史丹利杯裏邊，我哋睇到咧，原來佢哋要打27場，最低限度要贏到16場，總共贏到16場咧，嗰個先係冠軍。
And that from the Stanley Cup playoff, we see that a team must go through maybe most possibly 28 games, and they need to win at least 16.
你要知道點解金堂滿堂贏咗呢一個佢個嗰個叫咩啊？嗰個 not division, not the what do you call that？ 嗰個conference final， 即係佢哋嗰個唔識講中文啦。佢哋贏咗之後，頒俾個賽杯嘅時候，佢摸都冇摸過個杯。
But you can see the last time, the last game, even though they have won the conference bowl, and yet they didn't even go and touch it.
好多呢個以往嘅球隊都係啊，佢哋未打贏呢個史丹利杯嘅時候，雖然見到呢個杯啊，都唔摸佢嘅。
And for many other teams, that before they actually win the Stanley Cup, they will not even dare to touch it.
點解唔摸佢咧？
Why not?
有一個原因。
There is a reason.
因為佢唔想令到呢個勝利衝翻個頭腦，以為自己已經得着咗啦。
They don't want this the winning go to their head that they would they think that they have already attained this cup.
因為佢知道以後仲有一個更加重要嘅賽事，更加係需要佢哋付上全力嘅。
And because they know what is coming, they need to continue to give their best effort.
佢哋唔能夠放鬆，以為自己得着啦，慶祝啦。
And they cannot relax and celebrate.
因為否則話佢遲早都會失敗嘅，然後飲恨終身嘅。
And otherwise, they would be defeated and regret for their entire lives.
如果我哋要成為一個成功者、得勝嘅人，呢個係一條遙遠嘅路，係一生要跑嘅路。
To be successful, to be a victor, is a very long road. Is that the last of our whole life.
我希望大家緊記住，就係話咧，原來以後嘅賽事、以後嘅回合係更加難嘅。
I want you to keep in mind that the test, that the games later on will be more difficult.
越嚟就越難，越玩就越大，越玩就越難。
And then as you go on further and further, the tests become more and more difficult.
我哋所有嘅弱點啊，啲球隊一樣啊，呢個曲棍球隊咧，其實咧係好多時咧就係對方係把握你嘅錯處，然後打贏你嘅所以咧我哋嘅弱點好多時會俾我哋對手嚟到去顯露出嚟。
A lot of times, it's in the playoff that the team's weaknesses are being explored by the other team. The same thing with our life. Our weaknesses will be exploited in our tests.
我哋每一個人以後嘅試驗啊，係喺我哋嘅弱點嘅當中，就係試驗我哋。
We need to know our test that we will be facing later on will be we will targeting our weaknesses.
我哋每一個人都有弱點啊。
One of us have our own.
如果我哋唔對付我啲弱點嘅話咧，遲早咧，當我哋遇到呢個試煉嘅時候咧，我哋係未必會贏得到嘅。
And then if we do not deal with our weaknesses when we come to face with the test, that we may not be able to pass.
以後有咩嘅試煉咧？
So what kind of test will we face later on?
神藉著摩西喺申命記對下一代以色列嘅人預告佢哋將來嘅試煉。
And Moses in the book of Deuteronomy, when they're in the wilderness, they warned the Israelites about what kind of test they will face later on.
摩西嚴重警告佢哋，佢話：當神幫你哋驅逐咗所有呢啲咁嘅迦南人之後，一切順利安居樂業。
And Moses solemnly warned them when God helped them, the Israelites cast out the Canaanites, and everything after everything went smoothly, and when they settled down.
佢一切充足嘅時候，你哋會有更大嘅考驗。
And when you lack nothing, a greater test will come.
因為到時你所受嘅試煉唔係啲小兒科嘅試煉啦，係啲大啲嘅試煉，唔係缺水嘅試煉，乃係呢個試煉會係升級嘅。
And because at that time, their test will not be simply having no food or no water, but rather test will be escalated.
我希望解釋咧，我用呢個名詞解咧，就係一啲叫勝利者嘅考驗，唔係輸家嘅考驗，乃係贏家嘅考驗。
And this is not the test for losers, but rather a test for the winners.
係更加難嘅考驗就叫做順境嘅考驗。
Or even more difficult test would be the test of favorable circumstances.
最初以色列人所經歷嘅就係逆境嘅考驗，冇水啦，冇乜嘢都冇啦，係窮啦，乜嘢都冇嘅。
What they faced before with the face of adversity, when they were lacking in all things.
而家以後考驗就唔同啦，有錢咗啦，順利咗啦，乜一切啲豐盛啦，冇嘢唔缺乏咗噶啦。
And right now they have lacked nothing, and they have settled down, and everything is going smooth with them.
你話牧師啊，順境嘅考驗有咩咁難啊？
You may say, Pastor, how difficult can this test be? This test of favorable
當你
circumstances.
一帆風順嘅時候，一切順利嘅時候，所有都係好容易嘅，應該係。
Oh, when we are so successful and prosperous, then everything will be easy.
係不費吹灰之力就可以贏咗噶啦。
It's an easy task.
你以為啦？
That's what you think.
好多人輸就喺順境裏邊輸，唔喺逆境裏邊輸。
A lot of times people fail when they failed at these favorable times.
因為我舉個例子啊，呢講章裏面冇講嘅，有好多時咧，譬如啲人揸車，又講到咧，有陣時一啲好安全嘅駕駛者。
And for instance, there's a driver. The driver is a very safe driver.
突然間有一個大嘅車禍，
And suddenly he was involved in a great accident,
估唔到㗎，
unexpected.
因為佢防備力減低咗，因為佢覺得哇我好安全啦。
Because the driver is not as vigilant.
仲有一樣嘢就係、你可以揸長城嘅路啊，環整個北美由東至西遊過去，但係原來有陣時咧嗰、個車禍就喺近翻到屋企嘅歸程嘅最後嗰段係撞板嘅。
And a lot of times, sometimes when you drive a long distance and throughout the journey, everything is safe. But actually, accidents sometimes happen when you're very close to your destination.
因為一切順利啊嘛，你已經係個警覺係降低咗啦。
Because everything went smoothly and your alertness went down.
我以前講到希西家打咗兩場大仗，
I mentioned also Hezekiah had 2 great battles.
係之後打第3場仗居然輸咗，係最容易嘅仗。
And at the third battle, which is supposed to be the easiest, is at that battle he failed.
第一場嘅大仗就係呢個亞述嘅軍隊18萬大兵，兵臨城下，係圍住佢哋，佢缺水缺糧，乜都冇，冇兵士去抵擋佢哋。
The first battle was the Assyrians. Their army have surrounded them, and they were under siege.
其他人包括自己在內，諗住自己一定輸啦。
And they have no water, no food, and they thought they would be totally defeated for sure.
但係佢倚靠神，佢祈求神，神你幫我哋冇辦法救到自己。
And they rely upon God and ask God to intervene because they could not do anything.
當佢哋倚
themselves.
靠神嘅時候，神使到佢哋贏咗。
And when they put their trust in God, they had the victory.
第二場大戰就係佢個人嘅大戰，因為佢病得要死，神同佢講話：你要即係立遺囑啦。你因為咧，你唔會活落去啦。
And the second battle is a personal battle that he have a terminal illness, and that God has said to him, you have to set your will because you will not be here any longer.
佢係病㗎嗰時候，因為神心要醫治佢，佢就生死之戰啦，同死亡搏鬥啦，佢就打呢場仗。
And he was struggling with that at the time, and he fought the battle.
我哋知道呢個係叫絕症，因為要死㗎嘛，梗係絕症啦。
And we know that he's had a terminal illness.
所以佢打咗呢場生死戰，最深咩？打贏咗。
At the end, he won this battle as well.
咁大嘅逆境兩樣都打贏咗。
And he went through these 2 great adversities as the victors.
但係之後喺一個好容易嘅戰爭裏邊，係居然係慘敗咗。耶和 惹咗大禍。
But on the third battle, which is supposed to be the easiest, that's where he failed.
我解釋過幾次，就係當呢個希西家王病完之後，呢個巴比倫王差派使者嚟到慰問佢，哇，好好啊！你而家病翻好啦，咁啊慰問佢。
And after he was healed from his illness, the Babylonians sent a messenger to him and asked him how he was doing.
希西家亦都個好開心啦，所以咧佢咧樂於做呢個東道主嚟到款待佢哋，帶佢哋遊覽一下國家裏邊嘅榮華，睇到。
And of course, Hezekiah at the time he was very happy because he was healed, and he played to be a tour guide for them and take them to see the affluence and the wealth of the nation.
咁呢個人之常情咧，就係呢個希西家咧，就係炫耀一下佢哋國家裏邊嘅富庶，同埋佢自己嘅身家有幾咁雄厚。
And it's natural that he wanted to show off his wealth and how much wealth that he have.
之後神差派先知以賽亞嚟問佢：頭先你做咗乜嘢嘢啊？
But after that, God said to him and asked Hezekiah, "What have you done?"
冇乜嘢啊，我只不過就帶佢哋遊覽國家啫嘛。佢訪問我哋。
And Hezekiah said, "Well, I didn't do anything. I took them in a tour of the nation."
然後佢話：你俾佢哋乜睇咗啲乜嘢嘢啊？
So as continued, he was being asked, "What have you shown them?"
乜都俾佢睇咗，冇嘢我唔俾佢哋睇。我希望令到佢哋還原覺得咧，話咧大開眼界，覺得哇，原來神咁厚厚賜福我哋呢個國家嘅。
And his answer was that I showed them everything so they will know how blessed our nation is by God.
原來希西家係犯咗中國人嘅大忌，就係財不可露眼。
Now, actually, he have committed a taboo, a Chinese taboo that do not expose your wealth to the others.
估唔到呢個使者翻去嘅呢個巴比倫嘅時候咧，大肆宣傳，哇，好厲害啊！佢哋好有錢噶，哇，佢啲金銀珠寶啊，儲到幾多啊！
And unknown to him that the messenger went back to Babylon and told everyone how wealthy, how much gold and jewel they have in Israel.
然後種下咗呢個巴比倫嘅野心，以後咧要嚟到搶奪佢哋呢一個以色列嘅財富。
And that time they sowed a seed. Later on, the Babylon will come and take the wealth of Israel.
聖經裏邊歷史裏邊俾我講知道咧，原來巴比倫王咧連嗰啲聖殿裏邊嘅石頭都咁一嚿一嚿撬開晒，冇任何一嚿石啦搭響另外一個石上高，因為佢哋知道咧啲聖殿嘅石頭當中咧可能咧係點啊隱藏啲黃金喺裏邊。
And from history, we know that the king of Babylon they even take the brick, all the bricks, brick by brick from the temple because they thought that there would be gold inside of the brick.
呢個希西家太開心啦！
The Hezekiah was too happy.
神醫好佢，而家佢快活度日。
And God have healed him, and he is living
就喺
happily.
呢個最順利嘅時間裏邊，佢就犯咗個最大嘅錯誤。
This favorite time that he have committed a grave mistake.
佢將佢個國家嘅財富當成為賭注，係輸光咗。
And that he used the wealth of his country as a marker, and then he have lost everything.
因為引致日後咧，以色列係亡國，係被巴比倫有侵。
And because at the end, the consequence was that Israel was conquered by Babylon.
所以有啲好多中國人，我聽到啲咁嘅故事，香港都有啊。有個垃圾婆啊，原來身邊人哋知道係好有錢嘅喎，係禾稈冚珍珠喎。你記唔記得有冇咁嘅故事？10年之前到。
For Hong Kong people, they may remember that about 10 years ago, they have a cardboard lady that actually, even though when you see her, she's poor, but actually she have a very wealthy.
And she pick up garbage on the street. People think she's a garbage lady until they find out later on she's so wealthy. 財不可露眼。
We should not expose our wealth to others.
就係我哋一唔小心俾人睇到嘅撞板。
And then if we are not careful and have it leak out, then we're in trouble.
順境中裏邊嘅失敗嘅破壞力係比逆境中嘅失敗破壞更加多。
The impact of a failure in the favorable times are even it's greater than when we're in the
神
adversity.
警告以色列人，佢話：當你入到迦南之後，一切嘅豐衣足食嘅時候，你就會心高氣傲，以為呢啲所有嘅都係靠自己嘅力量嚟賺取嘅。
And God warned Israel that when you enter into Canaan and when you settle down and if you lack nothing, you will become prideful and thought that you yourself attained all these
喺
things.
順境裏邊咧，你就會忘記神咧，將神擺喺腦後邊嚟到忘記一乾二淨，而拜偶像。
And at this time, you will forget about God and start worship idols.
呢個警告啲應當應用喺我哋每一個現代基督徒嘅身上高。
And this warning should apply to every one of us as well.
聖經裏邊所講到嘅就係佢話呢啲神嘅所有經歷嘅係為我哋寫㗎，唔係講佢哋嘅事㗎，係我哋需要學㗎。
And actually, the Bible tells us that this is written down not for them, but actually it's an example for us.
順境裏邊嘅失敗，
The failure during favorable
有陣
times.
時我哋見到一啲咁嘅事發生係莫名其妙嘅，令人費解嘅事發生。
And sometimes you see things that are inexplicable and is puzzling.
你有冇聽過間中聽到咧？有陣時啲夫婦咧好地地，兒女又長大晒，個個有好個家庭，完成咗所有責任。
And maybe from time to time you hear a couple who have raised their children and everything seems to be going well.
生命好安定、好安穩嘅，應該係享受佢哋退休嘅年紀，突然間分辨係離婚。
And they were supposed to be enjoying their retirement time, but suddenly their marriage was in trouble.
以前咁難嘅啲冇事，點解有咁容易？點解有咁嘅事咧？
And nothing happened during the difficult time yet when everything seems to be so going so well. Why did these things happen?
最近呢幾個月，世界裏邊首富當中兩個仁兄名成利就突然間分辨鬧離婚。
And two of the wealthiest people in this world right now, several years ago, suddenly their marriage was in trouble.
呢個微軟嘅創辦人 Bill Gates 同埋 Belinda， 另外就係呢一個Amazon 呢一個網上購物嘅呢一個 Jeff Bezos。
And that's the Bill Gates of Microsoft and also the Jeff Bezos of Amazon.
你話到呢咁嘅地步啦，應該享受一下兩夫婦大家一齊嚟到再過呢個安樂嘅晚年嘅時間。
And they're supposed to be time that they enjoy their golden time.
我哋唔好以為呢啲事就喺呢個首富身上嗰度發生，就唔影響我哋呢啲普通嘅平民百姓。
Well, do not think these only happen to the wealthy, and doesn't apply to us.
我喺呢個福音堂裏邊侍奉咗2年半，
I worked in the gospel church for about 2 years.
大多數都係國內嚟嘅呢個夫婦係嚟到，大多數都係讀大學、讀麥嬌啊之類嘅。
And there majority of them came from mainland China to study here.
佢哋好識政府啲咁嘅助學金啊支柱咧，所以咧佢哋好多時咧攞助學金咧嚟讀呢個碩士啊、博士學位之類嘅。
And they get bursaries from the government so they could continue their study their masters and their PhD.
係足夠佢哋讀書，足夠佢哋養租 apartment 同埋養活嗰啲兒女。
That enough for them to attend school, have an apartment, and also to raise up their child.
佢哋都講一啲咁嘅故事俾我哋知道，講到佢關於佢啲朋友類似咁嘅環境嘅。
And they also share with stories about their friends that in a similar situation as they are.
有陣時有啲太太係走去做工，留供佢個老公讀書。
Some wives they go out to work and so that their husband can continue
好
studying.
勤力咁樣捱。
And they were keep going on like that.
但係當個老公畢咗業之後，收入好少少，
And after the husband graduated, their life become better.
佢就唔要呢個為佢犧牲咁多嘅老婆啊，然後同一個外國嘅女同事嚟去結婚。
And the husband abandoned the wife who worked so hard for him and marry a co-worker.
有另外就係有啲太太丈夫讀書啦，太太去做工啦，但係喺做工度會認識一啲外國嘅男士。
And also there are another cases where the wife went out to work so they could provide for the husband while he's studying, and yet she met someone at work and married the person she
然後有
met.
分辨啦。 因為佢唔願意同呢個丈夫繼續捱落去啦。
because she would not want to keep on doing that for the husband.
呢個已經有成就啦，呢個西人，所以咧佢同呢個西人好啲啦。
And this Westerner already have his accomplishment. It's better that I go with him.
原來我哋有問題嘅時候，唔係呢個逆境裏邊嘅挑戰，乃係順境裏邊嘅挑戰係更加難。
And actually, our challenges and our favorable times are even harder than those in the
我就叫
adversity.
呢個叫做成功者嘅考驗。
And this is what I call the test of the success.
當你名成利就有權有勢，你點樣對待你所親愛同埋周圍嘅人咧？
And that you attain the fame and also the wealth, and how would you treat the others that are around you?
歷史當中俾我哋知道，好多時往往大家去打生打死，喺最窮困嘅時間咧，大家一齊嚟奮鬥革命，係親密嘅戰友。
And throughout history, we can see that when you're going through a revolution, when you're going through difficult times, you have your intimate comrades.
但係當你打贏咗之後，做咗國家元首嘅時候，突然間就杯酒釋兵權，就將所有嗰啲咁嘅死黨啊、嗰啲生死嘅戰友咧，係置諸度外，同甚至乎處死佢哋。
And when you have attained, became the head of the state, and then you would start to remove the power from those who were with you, who fought with you, and even to kill them.
大家熟悉咁嘅故事就係呢個楚吳越嘅爭戰，就係呢個越王嘅勾踐同埋吳王夫差咧兩個打仗，收尾咧夫差成為呢一個勾踐成為呢個夫差嘅階下囚。
You may have heard the story that the war between the nation Yud and Wu, and the king of Wu, Fucha, that he have not Fucha. Okay, the king of Yu, that he was defeated and became a captive to the king of Wu.
其中一個好叻嘅人叫范蠡。 佢就要幫呢個打敗咗就成為階下囚嘅呢個勾踐咧去復國。
And one of the very intelligent advisors, Fan Lai, he wanted to help the king of Yu to reclaim his kingdom.
佢就喺呢個咩契啊唔記得咗啦揾到一個靚女叫西施，中國人最歷史當中話最靚女嘅一個啦，揾到話獻俾吳王夫差嚟迷惑佢，睇佢唔理國事，去顛覆呢個吳國。
And he came up with the scheme of finding a beautiful lady to one of the four beautiful ladies that in history in China to given her to the king of Wu, which Fucha, to enchant him to make him forget about the affair of the state.
呢個勾踐經歷一個歷史裏面可歌可泣嘅一件故事，就叫做咩啊？臥薪嘗膽啊！佢就係咧10年裏邊咧瞓響一啲柴嘅當中，吉到肉好痛嘅，然後咧個苦膽含住佢，然後成日提醒佢關於佢要報仇，佢要咧捱苦嚟到去打翻低呢個夫差。
And for the king of the Yud at Ochin, that he had spent 10 years sleeping every night on a dry hay, and also to taste the gout that he hang over his bed, to remind him about his suffering, that he will need to want to reclaim his kingdom.
He mentioned about the gout. The gout is very bitter, right? So you put it in your mouth. That means it's very bitter, and that's a reminder of he need to endure. 對最深尾佢真係成功。
At the end, he actually reclaimed his kingdom.
但係喺未成功之前，呢個范蠡同埋西施咧，突然間就遠走高飛逃跑咗。
But at the moment that when he reclaimed his kingdom, a little bit before then, that his advisor, Fan Li, and also Sisi, the lady who enchanted the other king, they flee together.
你話兩個咁大嘅功臣啊，應當成功咗之後會卜封侯拜信，佢哋應該等候領功嘅時間。
And you thought at this time that these two should be waiting to be rewarded because of their help.
但係范蠡係一個好聰明嘅一個人。
But the advisor family is a very intelligent
佢
person.
老早睇到呢個歐錢咧係一個點講啊？睇到佢咧只能夠共患難，唔能夠共富貴嘅人。
That long before that, he knew that this king of you would not be able, they would not be able to live with. They could only go through adversity with him, but not in the favorable times.
中國人有一個咁嘅成語就係飛鳥盡，良弓藏；狡兔死，走狗烹；敵國滅，謀臣亡。對唔住，冇寫落去。我 just came up on the spot. Well, there's a famous
slower.
Chinese idiom. It's like this: when there's no more birds in the air, then you hide away your bow.
And then
and then
the
there's
rabbits.
no more wild game, so that your hunting dog, you eat the hunting dog, because there's no more need to have a hunting dog. And when your hostile nation is conquered, your advisor should be put to death. Wow, that is our mentality. Do you know that? Not just those people.
呢個亦都係我哋嘅心態，唔定止係佢哋。
對唔住，講英文啊！成功之後，原來有啲人可以共患難，可以同富貴㗎。
And after a person becomes successful, may not be a person you can live with.
我哋好多時以為咧，哇，共患難就好難嘅，咁要患難得嘅，咁成功應該可以，但原來人唔係咁㗎。
We thought that it's difficult to go through adversity together, but actually going through this prosperous or favorable times even harder.
當有咗錢之後，先會有失婚外情嘅，冇錢嘅時候冇咁嘅附着㗎。
If they become wealthy, then they would have affairs. If they don't have no money, they will not commit any affairs.
我哋日後有啲咩考驗咧？
What are the tests that we will face later on?
成功者嘅考驗。
The test for the victors.
當你蒙神嘅厚恩豐衣足食嘅時候，你嘅考驗係唔同嘅。
And when you're being blessed and you are lack nothing, your test will be different.
聖經裏邊所講啊，以色列咧當時就會欺凌窮嘅貧窮嘅人，係收高利、欺壓外邦寄居嘅孤兒寡婦，同埋犯奸淫，仲有拜偶像。
And we can read that Israelites that when they become affluent, they oppress the foreigners, the orphans, the widows, and the poor, and they usuries, and they commit adultery.
當你窮嘅時候，你好依靠神，神話，呢啲事一定唔會發生喺身上高。
And when you are poor and you rely on God, these things you would never do.
但係當我哋有錢咗之後，我哋好容易會忘記神。你歷史裏邊俾我哋知道咧，以色列神所警告嘅一啲發生咗過嚟。
And when we become wealthy and more affluent, it's very easy for us to forget about God, just as God had warned the Israelites.
到最深尾，佢哋係亡國，俾神懲罰佢哋嘅。
And as a consequence, their nation fell and were being punished by God.
你同我所遭遇嘅試煉係冇分別嘅。
And you and I, what we will experience will have no different than theirs.
你睇下你自己就知道，你最初有啲移民嚟嘅時候，乜都冇。而家乜都有。
And you look at yourself when you first immigrated, you had nothing. Now you have many things.
你而家到一個地步就係一個成功遭遇嘅成功者嘅試煉。
And that you will also experience this test of a victor or a successful.
當你名成利就嘅時候，你嘅試煉係唔同嘅等級嘅。
And when you attained the power and influence, and then your attitude will be different.
越嚟係越難啊！
Your test will become more
因
and
為呢
more
個得
difficult.
勝者嘅試煉嚟嘅。
This is the test for one who is
你
successful.
問一問滿地可嘅曲棍球隊，你就知道啦。下一回合嗰個試煉係最大嘅，唔係最細嘅。唔係因為打贏我3隊之後，而家好容易啦。
And you can tell from the Montreal hockey team that they know that their next opponent is the greatest test, not just because they belittle the next opponent because of what they've done before.
當你已經成功啦，你嘅對手就更加係強。
And when you are successful, when you are a victor, your next opponent will be even more formidable.
我有咩可以比喻神所俾我哋要經歷嘅試煉係乜嘢？將來嘅
So how can what can I tell you about the test that God will give us in the
因為
future?
聖經裏面講10個，唔想講咁多，就我簡單就用呢個我哋好多時所綜合嘅，好多時出邊啲人都所講嘅。當我哋成功嘅時候，所有嘅試煉就咩 ？Money, power and sex， 就係咧金錢啦、權柄啦同埋性啦。
And there was 10 tests, but we'll simplify it and combine into just 3 things: it was money, power, and sex.
再加上咧就係拜偶像啦、離棄拜虛假嘅係離棄真實嘅。
And another thing we add to that, maybe worshiping idols, so replacing God with something that's imaginary.
我解呢3樣嘢。
I'll explain 3
權力
things.
權力嘅考驗。當你有權有勢時候，你而家冇啊，你所以唔知道啊。當你有權有勢時候，你以前咪冇試過嘅喎。哇！突然間，哇咁大權嘅喎，你會點用咧？
And if you have never had power before, but now that you have power, what would you do?
頭先我所講，我哋同嗰啲朋友、佢親密嘅戰友可以反顏相向，呢個歷史裏邊變咗好多次㗎啦。
And then when we attain power, we will turn our face from those who are close to us, those who are our comrades.
我哋會係恃勢凌人，因為我哋有權啊嘛。
And we'll become bullies because we have authority.
嗱，你話會唔會發生咧？
Do you think would that happen to you?
會啊！
Of course, yes.
最近呢10幾20年咧，我觀察，甚至講教會裏邊都係有咁嘅情形。
And I observed for the last 10, 20 years, this even happened in the church.
越嚟越多容易咧，教會係分裂過嚟。
And the churches, more and more churches split.
有陣時我哋覺得係意見唔同，
A lot of times because they have different opinions.
但係其實最終嘅一樣就係呢個權嘅問題，係權力裏邊嘅鬥爭。
But actually, this is all because of our power struggle.
所以有陣時咧，我見到哇幾廿人一齊離開呢間教會，
So
俾人知道佢有權啦，係影響呢一班人。我要走就所有人跟住我走。
And sometimes we see a whole group of people, a huge group of people leave the church, and this to show that they had the power to influence so many people.
最令我失望嘅就係一啲唔應當講權嘅人，係要爭權。
And what's so disappointing is that someone who supposedly not want to have power, yet they are struggling to attain power.
我哋嘅會長就講到關於牧師嘅責任，就係牧師其實咧係嗰個會長係保護佢嘅，就即係等教會唔會分裂嘅。就譬如舉個例子啊，冇任何人可以咧私自嚟到去召集，不過會議冇牧師嘅批准，亦都冇外來嘅講員咧可以俾牧師同意咧，冇同意咧就請佢翻嚟諸如此類嘅。
And the Constitution actually protects the pastor that there's no meeting should be called without the consent of the pastor or without the pastor knowing, and neither should a speaker be invited without the pastor agree upon it.
同埋一個主任牧師要你辭職嘅時候，所有嘅助理都應該辭職，俾新牧師有呢個權啦，可以請到新人。
And when the pastor resigns, then everyone who he hired must resign with him so that the new pastor can have a free reign.
呢一個會章係諗住係保護啲牧師，因為以往咧好多年之前咧就係咧，譬如牧師放咗假咧，佢哋已經開咗個私人會議咧，就炒咗牧師啦。咁一翻嚟已經係炒咗魷魚啦。所以咧即係避免有咁嘅事情發生，係有咁嘅會章。
And the Constitution actually wanted to protect the pastor because before that, there are time when the pastor who took a vacation and actually they had a meeting in the church and they decided to fire the pastor. So when the pastor came back and discovered he was fired. So we did the Constitution to avoid this situation.
真係有咁嘅事情發生㗎。咁滿地可我所認識嘅有另外一間教會咧，兩個牧師咁啊，放完假之後就被翻嚟咧，要解僱啦。
This actually happened in Montreal at least I know twice. And when the pastor came back and found out they were fired.
神召會係想保護啲即係無助嘅牧師嘅。
And the Constitution actually tried to help those pastors who are helpless.
但係而家呢一個保護佢哋嘅變成咗另一個作用啊！
But this intention supposed to protect us. Intention was to protect them, but actually turned to something else.
因為而家新人睇嘅唔係咁啊，冇人可以做任何嘢，冇得我批准，冇得我同意，係我係有呢個擁有權嘅，個個人要聽我講説話，聽我指揮，信我者生，逆我者死。
they have a different viewpoint to see this constitution, to say that no one can get into my way. Is my way or the highway.
所以一間嘅教會，當我哋換牧師嘅時候咧，教會就分裂啦。啲老臣子咧捱唔住新牧師個以氣凌人嘅時候咧，氣焰逼人嘅時候咧，就趕走咗出去，離開佢教會。
And for that reason, a lot of times when there's a change of pastor, the church is split because the older, the people who have been there longer were not able to want to be bullied by this new pastor.
因為呢個會章係授權俾我可以咁嘅，就係信我者生，逆我者死。你反對我嘅時候就係反對神啦。
Because the pastor thought that this constitution empowered them to do the thing that they wanted to do, and that you oppose me, then you're opposing God.
我最近去美國同呢個美國神召會裏邊開會，同嗰啲牧師，大家所關心嘅就係呢個會章裏邊呢個咁嘅呢個條例係似乎咧係過咗龍啦而家。
And recently that I have went to the U.S. to have a meeting with the AOC pastors, Chinese pastors there, and because they were concerned about particularly this situation.
唐人牧師包括土生呢個林國力博士啊，啲 Dr. David Lim 都覺得咧需要有修改嘅必要，但係我知道西方嘅教會牧師咧係唔會聽嘅。
And the Chinese pastor, even the American-born Chinese pastor, thought that there need to have a change to this constitution or this situation. Yet the Western pastors will not agree to it.
所以當教會轉手嘅時候，好多時變成一個叫做咩啊 hostile takeover，就係惡意嘅收管嘅時間，係惡意嘅佔有嘅時間。
And so oftentimes that when there's a change pastor, it becomes a hostile takeover by pastor.
當出邊有個咁嘅權嘅時候。
And when you have such authority and power,
一個愛神嘅一個好嘅牧人，突然間會變成一個屠夫。
And a good Christian, a good pastor will suddenly become a butcher.
好一個順境嘅時候，好人都可以變成壞人嘅。
And this turning time of favorable time that even a good person become a bad person.
本來順境令到我哋咧係應該係得勝嘅，但係相反令到我哋係弄權把持權柄。
And the time of favorable time that we were supposed to enjoy our victory, yet become a time that we struggle for power.
幾個月之前我講到政治嘅問題時候，然後講到呢個羅波安同埋咧所羅門嘅時間。
And I thought about playing politics between David and his son.
原來當以色列人富有嘅時候，所羅門所做嘅當時預備講章嘅時候，突然間發現所羅門所做嘅同呢個埃及嘅法老點樣虐待當時嘅為奴隸嘅以色列人係一模一樣。
And I found out that preparing the message that what Solomon did during his time was no different than what Pharaoh did in Egypt.
呢個法老派咗啲咁嘅惡嘅管工咧嚟到督工咧嚟殘害以色列人，要佢哋做苦工。
And the Pharaoh sent the slave masters to enslave the Israelites.
呢個所羅門亦都同樣用大肆建設好起好多宮殿啊之類嘅，亦都係嚟到去係用好多嘅高壓嘅政策嚟到去管轄佢啲國民，正到佢最深尾羅邦嚟到登位嘅時候，啲人忍受唔住啦，可唔可以放寬啲咁多啊？
And also in the same way that Solomon have major constructions and enslaved the countrymen to work for him to a point where Rehoboam said, "It's enough. Can you lighten the burden?"
所羅門係一個神好愛嘅一個人。
And Solomon was actually a person that was really loved by God.
但係當有權柄之後，佢變成一個神所憎惡一個人。
But after he have hold this power, become a person that's displeasing to God.
因為權力使人敗壞，權力使人腐敗，權力使人到失敗。
And because the power corrupts, and also power leads to failure.
所羅門當佢富有嘅時候，一敗塗地。
And Solomon in his glory that he failed utterly.
弟兄姊妹，當你有權嘅時候，你會點樣樣咧？
So, brother and sister, when you hold power, what would you do?
你能唔能夠勝過呢個權力嘅引誘咧？
And can you overcome this temptation of power?
你點樣對待你周圍擁護你、支持你嘅人，同埋你所看顧嘅人咧？
And how will you treat the people around you, those who support you and those that you should love?
權力嘅考驗。
This is the test of power.
另外就係金錢嘅考驗。
Next is the test of wealth.
我中國人所講嘅利欲熏心。
And China may say the greed and profit fill our heart.
當你眼前咧見到呢一個咁嘅叫dollar sign嘅嗰個錢嗰個銀碼嘅時候咧，我哋人性都會變咗好多時。
And that when we all we see in our eyes is the dollar sign, and even our human nature is being
聖經裏
covered.
邊講到一樣嘢就係、往往當我哋有錢嘅時候，我哋所有對象咧就係欺壓啲窮嘅人啦。
And a lot of times when we have wealth, the target of the people that we oppress will be the poor.
因為嗰啲有錢人咧唔會俾你蝦嘅喎，所以我哋只能夠咧喺窮人裏邊挖翻嚟嘅。
And because you could not bully those who are wealthy, so you will bully those who are poor.
所以有陣時咧，即係當從政之後咧，做咗上去，會成為貪官污吏，通常都係向窮人埋手嘅。
And that's why we see a lot of time the people who the officials or think they would oppress the poor and to extract wealth from the poor.
窮人要向政府申請呢啲申請嗰啲，佢哋冇辦法啦，好無助啊！咁只能夠見到官，但係官咧俾啲顏色佢睇嘅時候咧，佢唔知點樣好，到最深尾洗黑錢啦，洗黑錢就得啦。所以啲貪官咧就係其實係欺壓窮人。
And the citizens, they have to apply for this and apply for that, and then when they see the official will not comply with them, so all they have to do is to bribe them.
你唔好以為係出邊啲人咁有咁嘅事，
Do not think this only happened to the people outside.
其實係響信主嘅人裏邊都經常啦，因為頭先所講所羅門都係咁啦。
Even among those believers, they can be like that as well. You just look at Solomon.
我經常講到呢個致富神學嘅講員。
A lot of time we talk about, I talk about the speakers for prosperity.
佢哋好有錢，
Prosperity gospel, and they are these preachers. They are very wealthy,
佢哋好懂得勸人奉獻。
and they know how to persuade other people to give.
但係佢哋嘅手法係刮翻嚟嘅，刮窿咁刮嘅。
And actually, they are actually scraping the wealth of the
我
from the
觀察
poor.
咗好耐，佢哋嘅對象唔係啲有錢嘅人，乃係啲窮人。
You need to know that the targets are not the wealthy, but rather the poor.
因為啲有錢人唔會咁笨嘅，啲有錢人咧，佢點解咁有錢咧？因為佢哋懂得處理佢嘅經濟嘅財產。
And because the wealthy people will not be so easily fooled, and because they know how to manage their wealth.
佢唔會俾人哋氹幾句咧，就哇慷慨解囊，話成副身家俾晒你嘅。
And it's very hard to persuade them to open their purse and give you money.
但係原來嗰啲致富神學嘅講員咧，係向啲窮人嚟到話。
But actually, prosperity preachers, they are targeting the poor.
當我喺黑人教會變成我同埋上州牧師係好慎重叮囑佢哋唔好上當啊！
And when I was working in a black church, me and my the pastor previously working there also have carefully and said that do not so easily be fooled.
原來啲黑人咧好單純嘅，同埋咧好愛佢哋牧師，好尊重牧師神嘅僕人嘅。
And actually, the black people, they are very respectful and very respectful to the pastor, and they were very simple
佢
people.
想牧師好嘅，
They want everything well to go with the pastor.
所以咧佢哋咧當嗰啲咁嘅講員嚟到嘅時候咧，哇講下，佢哋乜都俾晒你哋可以嘅。
And when the speaker come and as he speak to them, and suddenly they were willing to give everything they have to them.
我同上一首牧師係黑人牧師啊，都係叮咗佢哋唔好上當啊，唔好上當啊。
Myself and my predecessor have many times warned them, do not be deceived.
其實致富神學嘅講員咁有錢，佢哋應該派錢俾人，唔應該窮人裏邊攞翻佢挖佢
And
啲錢出嚟。
actually, for the prosperity preachers, since they're so wealthy, they should be giving out money and not getting money from the people.
欺壓窮人，響窮人裏邊取利咧，係神所憎惡嘅。
And to oppressing the poor and gathering up wealth from the poor is something that is hated by God.
你有錢嘅時候點樣咧？
So what would you do when you're
你有
wealthy?
你嘅物業嘅時候，你租俾啲係咩人咧？係窮人，你點樣對待佢咧？
And if you are facing with the poor, how would you treat them?
你有冇用一個神俾你個原則、你愛心嚟到對待佢哋？如果佢真係有困難嘅時候，你會唔會封咗你惻隱之心咧？
And do you have the love and the principle that given to you by God and on how to treat the poor people?
講到錢嘅時候，你讓我講多一樣嘅十分特別嘅問題。
And since we're on the subject of money, we'll talk also about tithing.
我哋冇錢嘅時候，逆境嘅時候，十分立不係好容易嘅，10蚊俾1蚊啫嘛。
When we are poor and when we don't have much, it's very easy for us to tithe because from $10 I give only $1.
就算100蚊俾10蚊都容易，10蚊啫嘛。
And even with $100 I give 10, that's not too bad.
1000蚊俾100蚊都 OK，100蚊。
Well, if 1/10 of 1,000, that's okay too. It's only $100.
但係當我哋越嚟越有錢嘅時候，我做工咗之後哇啲薪水收入越嚟越高嘅時候，1萬蚊比1000蚊喎。
And then as our salary goes up and our income goes up, and say, well, $10,000 I have to give 1,000.
銀碼太大啦。
The number is too big.
哇！如果你有10萬蚊一年嘅收入嘅時候，10萬蚊要俾1萬蚊喎。
And you have $100,000 of income a year, that means I have to give $10,000 out.
弟兄姊妹啊，喺逆境裏邊侍奉神容易好多，勝過啲咁嘅試煉。喺順境嘅時候，你越富有嘅時候就越難㗎。
Sister, and when we're in adversity, and it's easier to serve God, but when we're in our prosperous times or favorable times, it's very hard.
最後就係色嘅引誘嘅考驗。
And the lastly is the test of
色欲嘅
sexual
引誘。
temptation.
我特別提醒男士，
I especially want to warn the men.
人嘅常情就係飽暖思淫慾，就話你食得暖，一切豐盛嘅時候，有權有勢嘅時候，就會諗起性嘅方面嘅嘢。
And that all your bodily needs are being met, and you would thought of other needs like sexual
唔
desire.
單止咁啊，當你有錢有財有勢有地位嘅時候咧，花不為人人自迷，就自然會有啲咁嘅女士啊，有啲美女，有啲唔正經嘅女人咧，就走埋嚟㗎啦。
And when you have attaining power, wealth, and position, then the woman will suddenly come before you.
當你有權有控制屬下屬你可以升佢職，還是你降佢職？你肯唔肯俾？如果佢肯俾你咧，同你約會一下嘅時候咧，你就可以通融升佢職嘅話，或者唔炒魷魚嘅話，你會唔會用呢個權咧？
And then when you have authority over your subordinate, and you have the power to promote them, demote them, or infire them, and would you go and ask them your subordinate for a date?
當你見到佢手下一啲屬員嘅時候，你就可以想入非非，因為你可以控制到佢哋啊嘛。
And then you can dream about them because you have the power over them to control them.
甚至你好正經，你乜都唔做嘅。
Even if you you do nothing.
亦都有啲女人係會走上嚟㗎。
And some girls or women would come to you.
我哋兩夫婦認識一個以前喺滿地海一個弟兄，唔係呢間教會嘅。睇佢咁正經咁嘅，點解會離婚會走去揾個第二個女人咧？我哋揾唔到，但係咧有陣時唔係一定佢走去揾啊！人哋走上門，因為你太成功啦嘛。
And then there's a brother in Montreal, and not from this church, and we were very surprised that he had got a divorce. But we found out it's not because he's righteous that this thing won't happen. Because the woman will come to him.
弟兄姊妹啊，呢個係其中一個最嚴重嘅引誘之一喺末世裏邊。
And because of successful, this is a very serious temptation.
好，而家越嚟越多離婚，越嚟越多婚外情，點解咧？
And so many divorces and affairs are happening. Why?
你冇錢冇成冇地位嘅時候，冇人會睺你㗎，冇人會追埋嚟㗎。但係當你有錢有權勢有地位嘅時候咧，有啲人就會向你打住。
And you have no power, no money, no position. Nothing would happen to you. But when you have these, and things will happen.
弟兄姊妹，聖經裏邊所講啊，佢人以為自己站立得穩，呢段經文所講嘅就話，你以為自己站得穩嘅時候，你更加需要小心啊。
And as the scripture we read before, if you think that you're standing firm, be careful that you do not fall.
英雄難過美人關。
That even a hero will fall for a beautiful woman.
喺1980年嘅時候，
In about 1980s,
嗰陣時候我未結婚，
and I was not married.
初嚟滿地開教會。
And when I just came to the Montreal Church recently.
有一對夫婦同我講，佢話某一個咧少婦，啱啱佢有細蚊仔，但係佢屋企裏邊有好大問題，佢自殺，因為佢屋企佢老公要同佢離婚。
And a couple mentioned my brother and sister mentioned to me that there's a young woman who have a child, and but she wanted to commit suicide because her husband wanted to divorce her.
所以佢而家喺醫院裏邊，我
And
哋可唔可以
so,
探佢，向佢傳福音？佢肯信耶穌噶啦。
and right now she's in the hospital, and the brother and sister told me that we should go. I should go there and help her because she's ready to believe.
個醫院好近屋企，
So I went to the hospital, and
所以我就去探佢，
so I went to visit her
去佢講福音，
and speak to her about the
同
gospel,
佢
preach
認
about
罪
the
悔改
gospel,
祈禱。
and also pray for her.
我探佢幾次之後，
And after I visited her a few times,
有一次喺醫院裏邊見佢，
and one time was I met her in the hospital,
佢突然間講下嘢嘅時候，佢叫我：你可唔可以伸隻手出嚟？
and we speak for a little while, and suddenly she said, "Can you put out your hand?"
我手伸出嚟，我都唔明白咩莫名其妙。佢叫我伸就伸啦。
And I didn't understand what was going on, but since she asked, so I hold out my hand,
佢好快就捉住我手。
and very quickly she grabbed my hand.
大家需要知道，我喺一個全男性嘅環境裏邊長大，我三兄弟係冇女仔喺屋企裏邊嘅。
You need to know that I was raised in a environment there's all male,
哇！揸住另一個異性嘅手係一個好唔容易嘅事情。
and for me to hold a hand of opposite sex
而
is
突然間佢同我講：
something that I'm not used to.
佢話你知唔知道啊？佢話我其實好中意你，我冇加冇減嘅字，佢話我好中意你。
And so she said to me, "I liked you very much."
我當時口口無言，
At that time, I didn't know what to say.
但係原來因為我未習慣嗰啲咁嘅嘢嘅，啲咁嘅叫身體裏邊嘅咁嘅荷爾蒙嘅分泌啊之類咁，第一次哇有個女性揸住我手喎。
I guess I'm not used to the hormone being produced in this way that a lady suddenly holding my hand.
但係原來未講嘢之前有一樣嘢咧，我嗰時候咧冇點特別留意，但係其實都係留意咗噶啦，就係佢喺個床病床當中咧，遞起個腳咧，原來咧將佢所有嘅下邊嘅大腿全部睇到晒嘅，攬無遺嘅。
At the time, maybe I didn't notice, or I did notice that that she exposed her thigh.
一世人都冇睇到咁嘅嘢嘅喎。
I have never seen that before up to that point in my life.
你話嗰個咁嘅晴天霹靂，嗰個咁嘅境況咧，係我贏唔到嘅，應該係。
And that situation is no way that I can overcome.
哇！我發覺咧自己係熱血翻騰嗰個時間，
And finally, at the time, my blood was boiling inside
因為未習慣過咁嘅嘢啊嘛。
because I'm not used to this.
咁我點樣做咧？應該
So what should I do?
我打咗深呼吸。
And I took a deep breath.
佢哋知道咧，可能佢贏緊又唔係輸緊嘅，我係輸緊嘅啦。但係咧，我突然間同佢講：哇！我對你冇嘢啊，完全冇嘢。我嗰陣時好似老鼠仔咁樣，好似係一個綿羊仔。我對你完全冇嘢㗎，我只不過係一個我係牧師嚟關心，係同你傳福音咋。
And perhaps at that time that the lady thought that she is winning me over and I'm losing this battle. But yet I said to her, I don't have any feel for you. I'm just a pastor trying to care for a person.
過一段時間，佢手放鬆咗，我可以走人啦。
And after a little while, she let go and I can go.
我以後都唔敢去再探呢個咁嘅婦女。
From that time on, I'm not brave enough to go back to
原
visit
來我
her.
發覺咧，都係有界限好啲嘅，甚至係揾第二啲人，有夫婦嘅去探佢好啲啦。
It is better to have a boundary to allow other couples to take care of the
弟
situation.
兄姊妹啊，
Brothers and sisters,
原來你唔需要同人嘅發生個感情㗎。
and you don't need to actually start a relationship
做
with
弟
them.
兄啊，做弟兄啊要小心啊！你未必需要中意一個人㗎，但係當有咁嘅情況之下咧，呢個身體裏邊嘅咁嘅反應咧，你可以上個當，可以輸咗㗎。
And brothers and sisters, especially brothers, you don't need to have a feeling for the person. Your physical reaction will dictate to you.
所以聖經裏邊所講，凡係以為自己站立得穩嘅，應該小心。
And that's why those who think they are standing firm, they must be careful and
弟兄啊，
don't
你唔好
fall.
以為你自己一定贏呢場仗啊，唔係㗎。
Do not think that it's a sure win for you in this
我
test.
爭咁多係輸咗，係一敗塗地， 係輸俾一個咁嘅人。
And I'm almost very this close to lose this battle.
甚至乎我如果嗰陣唔講話，我對你冇嘢嘅完全。我如果講話，多謝你啊，我都好關心你嘅，咁就上當。
And I didn't say that I have no feeling for you, but rather said, well, thank you, and I appreciate you.
你
Then
唔
I'm
想
in
令人失
trouble.
望嘛？你唔想得到一啲你好多時就咁啊。原來咧對啲婚外情有咩咧？就其實原來佢得到多啲咁多，佢想多啲嘅。佢一見到話有人關心我，有人愛嘅話，佢唔想失去一樣嘢嘅時候咧，佢想係保留少少嘅時候，佢就中咗計。Well, in affairs like this, you are not intentionally looking for something. But whatever the little you gain, the attention you gain, the favor you gain, and you don't want to lose it, even though you know it's not proper, you want to hang on to it, you will relinquish it, and then you will fall into the trap. 弟兄姊妹，我哋一生仲好多仗要打，冇一個人可有把握話我一定會打贏。
And no one can say for sure that I will pass.
我哋應當要依靠神啊！神啊，你幫助我啦！
And we should say to God, God help me.
靠着我自己，我一定打唔贏呢場仗。
And when I rely on myself, I cannot overcome.
我要好似希西家未輸之前咁樣依靠你。
And I should be like Hezekiah before he fell, that to rely upon you.
我知道你俾我嘅試煉咧，唔係要損壞我嘅，乃要我贏嘅。
I know the test that you're given not to damage you, but yet to allow me to have victory.
我希望冇任何弟兄姊妹以為自己好似溫尼皮同埋呢一個拉斯維加斯，以為已經贏緊啦。
And I hope no brother and sister would be like Winnipeg or Las Vegas that thought that they will win for sure.
你嘅對手會係越嚟越強。
But yet your opponent will be even more and more
你成
formidable.
功裏邊嘅考驗係越嚟越會難。
And during your success, the test will be even more severe.
你會喺順境裏邊跌入呢個圈套。
And that in this time, in favorable time, you will fall into the trap.
所以聖經裏邊提醒我哋，我最後讀多次就話，所以凡係自己以為自己站立得穩嘅，就需要謹慎，免得跌倒。
So there, I repeat once more, so that if you think that you are standing firm, be careful that you don't fall.
我哋唱一首歌。
Let's sing a song.
Lord, take control of me, renew my mind and help me see that the fullness of your life and love are mine to share. Make me a channel of your saving grace and cleansing blood. Make my life a shelter for a brother in despair. Release me now into the current of your Spirit's power, and fill me, Lord, each moment of the day and every hour. Make my life count for you in everything I say and do. Help me ever to pursue the fullness of your love. Lord, take complete control of my body, mind, and soul. Give me grace to trust you and surrender to your will. Let me know your promise just rest when I face each trial and test, so that you may manifest yourself to all the world. Release me now into the current of your Spirit's power, and fill me, Lord, each moment of the day and every hour. May my life come for you in everything I say and do. Help me ever to pursue the fullness of your love. 我哋唱中文一次好嗎？因為頭先我哋只係唱英文歌因為為咗中文弟兄姊妹嘅緣故咧，我哋試一次對唔住呢首歌咧，話冇琴房嘅當中，只係啲字都冇 chord， 所以咧要憑記憶，要2年咧冇點樣彈琴唱歌，所以咧有陣時會彈錯咗我哋試一次中文。主管你我的心，更新變化我一生，叫我能夠傳遞你的愛和你願備。我願此生成為你私人拯救之器皿，我願神受苦助在患難中至弟兄。求你現在釋放我得到大能的勝利，並充滿我每一天、每一分並每一刻。願此生成為你聖潔無愧的容人，求主助我不斷追求你愛的預備。主掌你我的心，掌管我心我靈魂，給我信靠你指引，並信服你旨律。當我面臨主試探，助我明白你形容，求叫你即將我生命顯明給世界。求你現在釋放我得到大能的勝利，並充滿我每一天、每一分並每一刻。願此生成為你聖潔無愧的求主助我不斷追求你愛的完備，而你的愛充滿我一生。Father, we are your servants.
神，我係你嘅僕人。
We know this life is difficult.
你知道生命唔容易。
We have gone through a lot of trials already.
我哋經過好多嘅試煉。
Many of us are still going through trials.
我哋好多係仍然係傷痛。
And some of them have burdens in the heart.
有一啲係喺佢心裏邊有呢個
They,
苦毒，
they cannot even resolve themselves.
佢唔可以幫到自己。
Lord, so today when we talk about trials and temptation and troubles, Lord, we want to come to you and ask you to help us, Lord.
每次我哋經過試煉困難嘅時候，都好想嚟到你面前求你嘅幫
Some of
助。
us feel that we are so weak and there's no power to overcome.
有好多我哋都覺得我哋係冇呢個能